Hey guys. I already posted this on my Instagram, but I just recorded a video game for like 15 minutes, only to find out that it wasn't recording the screen, and now the footage is lost. So I'm pretty mad about it, and I was like, okay, I put on some makeup for this so I don't look like shit, so I kind of want to take advantage of it. So I thought, what would I film that required no effort because I'm done for today. And I remember that in my daddy issues video, I talked about my anxiety a little bit, and I was like, I can make a separate video about it because last year was like the worst year of my life. And some people were like, yeah, we actually would like to hear that. And I've gotten so many sweet, sweet messages about that one in my weight loss video, where people were telling me that it actually helped them reflect on themselves and stuff, and it made me really happy. So I don't even know if I'm gonna upload this because I'm filming this on my um, front camera with horrible lighting, so the quality is probably trash. So if I upload this, I'm sorry for the quality to the 10 people that are probably going to watch this. But yeah, so today's topic is going to be anxiety. Let me start off by saying that last year I was diagnosed with general anxiety disorder before anyone comes for me because I know people love invalidating other people's mental illnesses on the internet. So I went to a therapist and I had one appointment with him, which I guess it would be better to have multiple ones to have like a stable diagnosis, but he wrote it down on a piece of paper. He was like, I from what you've described, I think you have general anxiety disorder, blah 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 blah. And then I never went again, which I'll get into maybe in a second. But as for my backstory with anxiety, I have had anxiety now looking back on it. I didn't realize it as a kid, obviously. You don't sit there as like a 10-year-old and are like, okay, this is anxiety. But I've had it pretty much since I was in middle school, maybe, I think, or even younger than that. I don't know. I think it developed after my parents split up, maybe. Therapists love asking you this question. Like, one of the first things they'll ask you, I think, is, are your parents divorced? Because apparently that takes more of a toll on your mental health. Sometimes it can, at least, than one would expect. Because I never thought that it affected me when I grew up, but now looking back on it, apparently it did. Yeah, so my anxiety mostly expresses itself in the form of health anxiety. You could also call me a hypochondriac, if you would like. For those of you who don't know, hypochondriacs are basically people who imagine diseases where they aren't there, or they have like very light symptoms that don't necessarily have to mean anything, like a headache or stomach pain or something like that, and they immediately imagine the worst, like a stroke or a tumor or something like that, you know? So people who just over exaggerate like symptoms and stuff like that, and you could call me that. And they're generally very paranoid about their health and stuff like that. My health anxiety focuses mainly on my heart and my breathing. So, my heart, actually, my mom has a arrhythmia. Okay, so medical terms are difficult for me in English, but she has heart arrhythmia, basically. Not like a lethal one. There's like okay types of arrhythmia that you can like live with. And I'm pretty sure I inherited that because I went to the hospital. It started about, I want to say 3 years ago, maybe, when I was like 17, was where it happened the first time. So basically, my heart arrhythmia, it's not diagnosed. So take everything I say with a grain of salt, but I'm pretty sure I have it. And I'll get into why heart arrhythmias are a little difficult to diagnose sometimes. It happened, I remember this very vividly, the first time on my way to an exam, actually. And I was sitting in the backseat of my friend's car, and my heart suddenly, it's almost as if someone flipped a switch, and it went from beating completely normal to like as if I had just ran a marathon. Like, literally like this. So I was sitting there in the backseat, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I was legit thinking, I'm dying. I immediately went into like a panic attack, couldn't breathe, and it went away after like, I want to say a minute or two maybe. But I was so fucking freaked out that I didn't want to write this exam anymore. So I went to the hospital and I told them what happened, and the doctor who treated me was like, okay, that sounds like this type of arrhythmia. I have no fucking clue. I'll look up the name in English. I have no idea what it's called in English. This sounds like this heart arrhythmia. And we're gonna have to do a couple tests, blah blah blah. They took my blood for some fucking reason. They did like a heart EKG. Is that what it's also called in English? And they did like an x-ray of my heart or whatever. And she was basically like, yeah, so if you have that, basically it's not inherently dangerous. Like usually you can't die from it, and blah blah blah. She explained the whole thing to me, and I remember that my mom has this. So I was like, is this genetic? And she was like, it can be. And she was like, this, one of your parents have this? I was like, yeah, my mom has it. So my mom was a healthy 52-year-old. Wait, 53. Yeah, 53-year-old. And no, 52. Oh, she's gonna kill me if I tell her people she's older than she is. Anyways, long story short, that didn't really lead to anything. And then I had it again, and it freaked me the fuck out again. I went to the hospital again, and the doctor there was basically like, okay, so they can't see anything in the EKG that they put me on in the hospital. And the thing he told me was basically that heart arrhythmias like that can be difficult to capture with an EKG because they only happen one moment, right? If you don't happen to be wearing that EKG in that moment where you have that heart arrhythmia, it's hard to determine what type of arrhythmia it is because there's like super many types of heart arrhythmia. And I've also had a 24-hour EKG done. That didn't turn up anything. I've had my heart tested and like whatever multiple times, and all my doctors are like, you're A-okay, your heart is fine, which is a little irritating because I know I have it. I had it the other day where I was legit about to call the ambulance because it lasted for like 10 minutes. It has never lasted this long. And please imagine running at the highest speed you can for as long as you can while your heart is literally beating out of your throat. But that while you're like not doing anything. So, because when you're doing that, your whole body is already in that like state of exercise. Like your adrenaline's running through your body, you know, so everything is in sync. But when you are in a calm state, you're not fucking doing anything, and your heart does that all of a sudden, it's a very, very weird sensation. And it almost made me pass out. It was not cool. Like I said, it went on for way too long, and then I talked to the, I did call the ambulance, actually, and, well, I didn't call, I called 911, and, talked to the dude on the other line, and I explained it to him, and I was like, I'm just not sure, blah, 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 and he was like, it's probably fine, you're young, blah, 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 just wait for it to go away, and if you feel like you're going to pass out, call us again. I was like, okay. Then it went away after 10 minutes. I literally started crying because it freaked me out so much. Switch back. Bro, I hate this shit, bro. Oh, that went on for like 10 minutes. God damn it. I'm just crying out of like stress and shock. I hate this shit, bro. What the fuck was that? I've never had it for this long, man. That freaked me the fuck out. I'm still... Anyways. Yeah, my health anxiety mainly manifests around that. Like, health-wise, definitely, it's my heart and my breathing and stuff. Because sometimes I used to have bad panic attacks where I just felt like I didn't get any air, which isn't an unusual symptom for panic attacks. But, yeah, it's always been like this, as far as I can remember, literally. I've always had issues with my heart for some reason, like in my mind. I remember when I was a kid, I would do this thing where sometimes I still do this because at this point it's such an ingrained habit that it's hard to get rid of. Where sometimes if I get anxiety, I will sit there and just hold my hand to my chest and listen to my heartbeat to make sure it's like beating properly. And I used to do that even as a kid. So yeah, it's been here for a while. And let me get into last year, because last year was when all this accumulated, and I don't even know how to express to you how bad my mental health was last year. Like, looking back at it now, it seems like a different person. I don't know if any of you have experience with anxiety or any mental illness in the sense of having a phase or something where you felt like a completely different person, and maybe now you're in a better space and you look back at that and you're like, first of all, how did it ever get to that? Second of all, who the fuck even is that? Because I can't recognize myself. So last year started off pretty normal. It was the normal amount of anxiety that I've always had. Nothing special. And then for some reason, there wasn't a trigger. Like, nothing, as far as I can remember, nothing major happened that for some reason would have made my anxiety worse. Like, no one died, nothing, I wasn't traumatized. It just got worse all of a sudden. And it started by basically just, I can't remember, honestly. And I think this is trauma suppressing. I'm pretty sure. The fact that I can't remember it, because as much as I try to, I think my body just and my mind just don't want to let me remember that. So I don't know. It was such a gradual worsening process that I can't pinpoint you a moment in time where it got worse. But over the months, it got to the point where I was so anxious all the time. And the thing with general anxiety disorder is, let's say, and I'm not trying to compare mental illnesses here, I'm not trying to invalidate anybody's feelings or anything, but let me explain it to you this way. Let's say you have a traumatic event. Let's say you have PTSD from something. Then you usually have triggers, right? So no matter what happened to you that traumatized you, you know, okay, if this happens, or over time you figure out if this happens, it triggers my trauma and it brings me back to that situation. Whether it's, for example, sexual assault or whatever. I don't know. I don't want to speak too much on it because I don't have experience, but in my mind, and I've read a lot about general anxiety disorder, and that's one of the things I read. A lot of people have triggers for their mental illnesses, especially when it comes to anxiety. Some people don't like crowds, and it triggers the anxiety. Some people don't like other situations that trigger their anxiety. That's what I'm saying. And the problem with general anxiety disorder is, while there are triggers, for me personally, you don't know what you're so goddamn afraid of. Because anything gives you anxiety. And that's the problem. I was so anxious all the time. It didn't matter what I was doing. It didn't. There wasn't an off switch. There wasn't anything I could do to make me feel better. Maybe temporarily, but at some point that even vanished. Like, it got so bad that I couldn't do anything to get me out of my mind. And let me give you a couple of examples how this expressed itself in my everyday life. So I stopped leaving the house, first of all. I don't know what I was so afraid of. I think I was afraid of, again, it mainly focused around my health. I was afraid of dying. I thought I was dying every single day. Literally every single day there was at least one moment where I was like, that's it. And while this might seem completely irrational to any of you that have a normal mind, and I understand, it seems irrational to me right now as well. But in that mindset that I was in, it didn't. It genuinely, I thought I was dying every single day. And I want you to please imagine having that fear every single day. Imagine you're in a situation, maybe some of you have been in a situation where you thought you were gonna die. Imagine that fear, but every single day, constantly. I can't tell you the reason. I don't know. I can't tell you. I wish I knew. I wish I knew how to stop it back then. But I didn't. So I didn't leave the house because I was afraid. I remember some of the thoughts that were running through my head, what if I pass out in public? And it's embarrassing. I'm not kidding you. That was one of my thoughts. Literally, no normal person would think that. If you pass out in public, people are going to help you. It's fine. No one's going to be like, oh, that's embarrassing. But to me, I was like, what if I pass out in public? What if I die in public? That's embarrassing. People seeing me die, I'd rather die in the safety of my own home. I'm not kidding. I know I'm smiling during this, but this is my coping mechanism. No, but I'm genuinely not kidding. I would get the worst anxiety about anything that made my heart speed up. Even stairs. I'm not kidding. I would not take the stairs if I could somehow avoid it, because they obviously, it's not exercise, but you're moving your body, and your heart accelerates, which is a perfectly fine physical reaction to physical strain. But my brain didn't think like that. My heart accelerating sent me into such a state of panic that it terrified me. So I would sometimes go visit my mom, and she lives in a different city than I do. So I would have to take the train. And the trains here where I live, they're up the stairs. You have to go up a flight of stairs to get to the station. Sometimes I literally couldn't even do that. It would take me like 10 minutes to go up this flight of stairs so I could minimize the like acceleration of my heart as much as possible. And I realize this sounds insane, but I'm just trying to give you like an opportunity to look into what my mind was last year. So I remember that being a thing. I couldn't work. It got to a point where I couldn't work. I was a server, and I had such bad panic attacks that I literally just couldn't work. They called the ambulance for me once when I was at work because I was in such a bad panic attack that I couldn't breathe, I couldn't speak. It was pretty bad, and it was pretty fucking embarrassing because afterwards they all treated me, which I understand, they all treated me like a fragile little whatever, and at any turn my boss was like, you know what, if you feel bad, just tell me, you can go home. And while I appreciated that and I understand why they were acting like that, it was incredibly annoying as well because I don't like being caught out like that. So it got to a point where I couldn't work, which is terrible because I needed the income. And it got to a point where I didn't give a shit about my uni work anymore. I'm a university student, obviously, and I flunked all of my exams, didn't study, because I couldn't focus. I literally could not sit down. I don't know how to explain this feeling of you. I know some of you don't have anxiety, and I'm sure those of you who do know what I'm talking about maybe, but I don't know how to explain this feeling of anxiety to you. It's not what you feel like before a test or before a presentation. It feels like someone's setting your blood on fire, or like someone released a million ants into your bloodstream. Like, you are so on edge the whole time. Your body can't relax. Oh, also something that was terrible and absolutely not beneficial to my mental health was the fact that I couldn't sleep. So I developed this thing where I would tell myself, and I'm pretty sure this was mental, because it is so scary what effects your brain can have on you physically. Like what psychosomatically it can do to you. So I would have this thing where I would lay down at night and my heart would stumble out of rhythm, but only when I laid down. So I convinced myself in my head that was the problem, that I couldn't lay down. And you can imagine that sleeping while not being able to lay down doesn't really fit together. So I would often, like, let's say 6 out of 7 nights in the week, stay up till 9 or 10 a.m. till I was literally so exhausted that I would just pass out and sleep for like 2 or 3 hours. Or I would sleep sitting up. Deadass, I would put like a lot of pillows behind me and sleep like this. I'm not kidding. Which also, you can imagine, wasn't very restful sleep. And needless to say, if you don't sleep properly, your body can't recuperate, your mind can't. It takes such a toll on your body. There's a reason why you die if you don't sleep for a couple of days. Your organs can't regenerate. Like, it's just so terrible if you can't sleep. Not sleeping fucks you up so fucking bad. And I was sleeping like 2 to 3 hours every single night max. And then also from like 10 to 12 a.m. or 10 to 1 p.m. Like, it was awful. It was god awful. And I remember this one moment where it was really bad. It was last year around July, where I had a concert that I was really looking forward to, that I paid a lot of money for, and I couldn't go. I told my friend that I was supposed to go with. I didn't sleep that night. I was shaking. I can't explain what it feels like to you. I was shaking. I was pale. I was dizzy. I felt so incredibly I can't tell you, but I knew there was no way that I can go to a concert and to a crowd of people not having slept with this anxiety. There's no way. I would only ruin the trip for my friend, who was also really looking forward to go. So I sold the ticket spontaneously the day we were supposed to go to another friend, and they went, and I was so sad because I was sitting there and telling myself, look what you're doing to yourself. Like, you just robbed yourself of such a fun experience because you can't get out of your head. And that was genuinely one of the saddest moments in that year because I was like, what am I doing to myself? And there were just so many nights where I felt so incredibly alone because I was living alone in my student dorm. So I wasn't living with a roommate. Last year I was living in a student dorm. And I think that didn't help because, first of all, I was alone. Second of all, it was very tight and like it was only one room. And I felt like I couldn't escape. Like, there were a lot of times where I felt like the walls were caving in on me, and I relied so heavily on my friends. Like, my best friend, I slept over at her place so many times because I just couldn't handle being alone. Being alone meant being alone with my thoughts, and that was terrifying to me last year. And I relied so heavily on my friends, and I feel really bad about it because, while I understand and I wouldn't put it past anyone right now if, you have a mental illness and you rely on your family or friends for support, but in the end, you shouldn't rely on them to the point where it becomes a burden to them. At least I don't want to, because I feel bad afterwards, and I definitely relied on them too much and put too much of a strain on them mentally. But I just didn't know what else to do. I was so helpless and like lost. I think that pretty much describes it pretty well where I was at. I was lost. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do to get better. You might be like, why didn't you look for a therapist immediately? I don't know. I can't tell you. My mom also didn't understand. My relationship with my mom got a little strained with this because I know that it comes from a place of love. She loves me very, very dearly and she hates to see me suffer. And she was really mad at me. There were times where she was really mad at me last year because she just didn't understand what was going on with me, which I understand, I feel like parents especially don't have good, like, not all of them obviously, but a lot of them don't have a good grasp on mental illnesses, and I didn't understand myself, so how could I expect my mom to, and she did her best to support me in the way that she could. And I remember in the end, towards, I think, like, end of August, beginning of September, I moved in to her place. I still had my apartment, but I slept on her couch for like a month because I couldn't be alone. I physically could not be alone. It would send me into such a deathly amount of anxiety that I just didn't trust myself alone. So I slept on my mom's couch, and that helped a little. Like, it helped me knowing that she was there. But for example, what was bad was when she would go to work during the day and I was on break. Like, I had semester break, so I didn't have university or like classes or anything. So I just sit at home, and I would spiral again into like a horrible state of mind. And I remember there being so many times where I don't think my mom has ever seen me cry as much as I did last year. I don't think any of my friends have as well. Because usually I'm a very private person when it comes to that. I don't like crying in front of people. Like, when it comes to personal stuff. I'm not talking about like anime or whatever. I cry a lot when it comes to like TV shows and stuff, but I'm very, very personal when it comes to showing my emotions, like raw emotions, in private. And I don't think my mom has ever seen me cry that much. And I remember one day where, what was it, night? No, I think it was during the day, where I was at home. I don't know if this was after I stayed at her place or before. I think before. And my first instinct always when I feel bad is to call my mom. It's always been like that. My mom has always been my pillar and my anchor. And it's just my first instinct. When I'm sick, I want to call my mom. When I feel stressed, I want to call my mom. When I have anxiety, I want to call my mom. Which, call that dependent, and I'm sure it is, but, that's how it is. And I remember calling my mom in tears because before that, I was looking up, like, mental institutions. I'm not joking. I was thinking to myself, I don't care if I go to one of those mental institutions and they keep me there for like weeks. I don't want to be alone with myself, and I just wanted to get better. I cannot tell you how many times I was so exasperated, and the only thought in my head was, I just wanted to get better. And it honestly didn't feel like it could. There were times where I thought, this is my forever. I'm never going to get out of this. I had such dark thoughts. And I didn't think about suicide per se. I don't think because, like, if you look at it logically, I was so terrified of dying that killing myself would have been, like, stupid, like, if I'm afraid of death, why would I kill myself? So I wasn't thinking of like killing myself, but the only thought that I kept having was like, if this is my state of being right now, I'd rather just not exist. Like I didn't actively think of like killing myself. I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to get out of my body. I don't want to be here. I don't want to experience this every single day. So I remember looking up mental institutions and seeing what requirements they had for them to let you stay there and stuff like that. And then I called my mom, like exasperated, sobbing. And I was just like, Mom, you gotta do something. Like, send me somewhere. I don't care, but I can't do this anymore. I just kept telling her, I can't do this anymore. I can't be alone with me. I don't know what to do with me, with myself. And I just remember, her talking to me. We talked for like 2 hours or something. And I was at such a low point in my life. I don't think I've ever been that low. And I hope I'm never going to get that low again. I could talk about this for hours. Like, there's so many things I could tell you about last year. And then there was a situation that also didn't help with my ex-boyfriend, and which was partly my fault, but still, there was just a lot that accumulated that was just too much for me. And if you would ask me, okay, how did you get better? I don't know. It went as mysteriously as it came, which probably means that it'll come again at some point. I know that because I didn't do anything against it actively. I know I need therapy, like no question. And I don't know what I did to have it go away. But what did help me with my anxiety, and I strongly recommend this to anyone who maybe also struggles with anxiety, is CBD oil. That is extract. Actually, I forgot the like technical terms. It's basically weed oil, but without the component that makes you high. So it's legal to sell in countries even where weed isn't legal, because weed isn't legal in Germany, but they sell this shit in like pharmacies and stuff. And they have different dosages, and it's supposed to help with like anxiety, insomnia, chronic like pain issues. And it did help me a lot. It took like 2 to 3 weeks to really kick in, but I could tell that it calmed me down a lot. And maybe that was the first step to realize that what I was experiencing wasn't a forever state. Because like I said, I genuinely thought, this is it. Like, I'm never going to get better. There were so many times where I just couldn't imagine living without this state anymore. And I think calming down through those drops and the oil and whatever helped me at least realize that, oh, okay, maybe I can get out of this. And also, as much as I can't pinpoint you a time where it started, I can't pinpoint you a time where it ended. I still have anxiety. Do not get me wrong. I still get panic attacks, but it's nowhere comparable to what I felt last year. Like, last year was god-awful. God-awful. And as bad as this year is, it's still, again, not comparable to how I felt last year. And I know I need therapy. Before anyone comments it, because so many people commented in the fucking daddy issues one, you need therapy. Bitch, I know. I fucking know, okay? But, maybe I should look into that. I don't know how affordable it is and what the insurance covers, because I think they cover therapy if it's, like, life-threatening, like, if you need it, and I think they don't cover things like family therapy, for example, like therapy that they don't see as essential. So I don't know where this would fall at right now, because last year my doctor, my like primary care doctor was like, okay, you need therapy. And so he sent me to a therapist, and that was free because I was like not functioning. But right now I'm like kind of okay. So I don't know if right now would be a situation where there would be like, okay, it's essential for you to have therapy right now. I don't know how that shit works in Germany, okay? If any of you are German and know more about that, let me know in the comments. But anyways, I know that therapy is the answer to this, and I know that I can't just hope for this to go away. But yeah, I don't know. Again, I didn't have a goal with this video. I just wanted to put it out there. As I said, I want to normalize talking about this stuff. I'm not ashamed to put this on the internet. I don't care, but I don't think mental illness is anything you should be ashamed about. Even if total strangers see this, even if people see this who know me. There you go. If you knew me last year and you didn't know I was going through this, that is a testament of how good of an actor I am, because there were times where I kept it together pretty good, even though I was dying on the inside. So, sorry, a little props to me there, but yeah. If you are struggling currently, please, if you can, talk to a professional. If you can't, then maybe try to find support on the internet or try to find support in your family and friends, first and foremost. But if you can't get it there, I'm sure there's sources online where you can find help. Or if it's all I can offer, then you can DM me on Instagram. Please feel free, it's in the description. If you have any questions or any personal experience you want to talk about and maybe want my advice or just my insight or just want me to listen, honestly. Sometimes it helps for people just to listen. I know that. You can write me anytime, genuinely. And if you need help, again, please, there are hotlines that you can call for everything. Point is, I'm better now. For now. We'll see if it comes back. And I will keep you guys updated on my mental health in case it gets worse or better or whatever. But yeah, I see pictures from myself. I did this with my best friend the other day, and I see pictures of myself last year, and I'm like, girl, you went out looking like that. Like, I looked terrible. You can truly tell that mental health can take a toll even on a person's appearance. Like, I looked awful. God awful. Because I didn't take care of myself. Obviously not. I didn't care what I looked like. I didn't care about anything, honestly. So I just looked god-awful. But I'm glad that I'm over that. I'm sure my friends and my family are also glad that I'm over that for now. And I know my mom is because she felt terrible during all of that also. And yeah, this is a long video again. But you know what? I don't really care. And I hope maybe you can take away something from this video. Maybe you can't. That's also fine. Yeah, I just wanted to give you a little insight of who I am as a person and make you guys feel closer to me because I appreciate you guys and I love you guys. And that's basically all I wanted to say. Honestly, this is a very broad topic, so again, I could go into detail for much longer, but I've talked enough for now. So, yeah, thank you guys for watching the video. If you came till here, thank you for taking the time to listen to me. And hopefully I'll see you in the next video with a little bit of a less depressing topic. But you know, this is real life. This is stuff we need to talk about and normalize talking about. So I'm going to do that. And that's all I have to say. Again, I'll leave it in the comments, but I don't monetize my videos. So if you want to support me, please consider leaving me some money on Ko-fi, I think. It's in the description. It's basically like Patreon, but not really. You can leave like money through PayPal, whatever. Yeah, so that's it. I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.